Our top story now, with banks coming up with millennia cards to cater to millennial spending habits, it becomes imperative to understand if it actually makes sense to get these millennia cards. Now, millennia cards are specially designed to suit the spending habits of millennials or younger generation. These cards are often enticing due to lucrative offers and cashbacks they provide. But it's important also to evaluate how much you would have to spend in order to avail such offers. HDFC, for instance, offers a prepaid card, a debit card, a credit card, and an EMI card as a part of its millennia range. While banks claim to offer additional benefits tailored for the millennial spending habit, there's little distinction between this and other cards available in the market. However, the notable distinction is the higher cashbacks on online transactions. This, as millennials are more comfortable using digital wallets, this card allows cashback on reloading digital wallets, which most other cards do not. Other prominent features of this card include that all transactions above 10,000 rupees automatically get converted into EMIs for 9 months at an interest rate of 20% per annum. Also, it offers a personal accident cover of 1 lakh rupees. India, incidentally, has the world's largest millennial population of close to 450 million, which makes them the top consumers of goods and services. While HDFC Bank and others are trying to leverage this fact, the question we leave for you is if it actually makes sense to get these millennia cards. Let's get in some more details on this and understand the fine print, so to say. Joining me on the broadcast now is MD and CEO of International Money Matters, Lovaii Navlakhi. He is with us on the broadcast, joining us live from the United States at this point in time. Thank you so much, Mr. Navlakhi, for sharing your views on India ahead. Just wanted to ask from you, now this new offering that is targeting one particular age group of consumers, so to say, help us understand the fine print. How different or similar is it from the existing debit cards and the credit cards or gift cards, for that matter, that we have in the market?
I think the important thing for us to know is that for a bank, the most important thing would be for them to make sure that their cards are used and people take credit and avail of the interest facilities that they give. So we must remember this at the backdrop. So the banks will typically create an emotional attach by naming the card a millennial card and making you feel that it is created just for you. So to that extent, you have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because there's really not too much innovation that they can come up with on a debit card or a credit card. So it may not be really too much different from many other cards that are in the market. There'll be certain elements of the features that these cards are bringing in, which will be common with some of the existing cards itself. But I think in this case, what they have done is they bundled it all together and make it feel that it's created just for you.
Right. So, going by what you just said, sir, help us understand, does it then really make sense to get these millennia cards? Because we do know when it comes to spending power, when it comes to the aspiration quotient, that is the particular younger segment that these cards are essentially trying to target.
Yeah, so I think it's very much like bank accounts, I would equate it to. That you're tempted to open different bank accounts because as you change jobs, each company wants you to open a salaried account somewhere. You have something else which is linked because your parents had some account somewhere else. And just having too many bank accounts is a problem. The same thing would apply on cards, that it really does not make sense to have just too many cards with you, because the ability for you to ensure that everything is organized, that you are making the payments on the due dates and not paying overdue interest on delayed payment on cards, etc. Those are things that you have to worry about. So, if for somebody who does not have a card today or has just one card and they feel, yes, this is an additional card they anyway wanted to take, and the features of this card are sort of good, then yes, sure, they can go ahead with this card. So there's nothing negative in this card. It's just that there may not be anything greatly positive as well.
Right. So while we are talking of the objective of these cards, which you've explained very nicely, now while the banks are claiming to offer additional benefits tailored for millennial spending habit, there's a little distinction between this and the other cards available in the market. Now, do you agree with this reasoning, so to say, that the biggest benefit of this card is that it, in a way, accrues cashbacks instead of reward points, and that is something that is being pitched to the millennials?
Yeah, so like I said, they've created this saying, millennials will like cashbacks as opposed to, accumulating points and then spending it at, one sort of shot in future. So to that extent, yes, it is a little different. Just as you probably have analyzed them, that, there are certain terms and conditions under which those cashbacks will have to get used. And cashbacks are only going to be one more source of sort of encouraging you or enticing you to spend some more. And then you should not get into a vicious circle. That's the only fear.
Absolutely. So you should not be getting into that vicious cycle. But then, that brings me to my next question. Isn't this also, in a way, a blessing in disguise? Because if you look at the pattern, if you end up spending over 10,000 rupees, it automatically gets converted into an EMI mode, but the interest rates are hovering to the tune of about 20%. Now, doesn't it in a way also end up leading to more spending and increased at increased rates?
Yeah, I think the biggest fear is, a habit formation of learning to spend things which you've not earned, and say that, I know I'm going to earn in future, and when I earn in future, I'll pay off that EMI. I had done a little bit of analysis that on that 20% per annum that is charged, if you spend 10,000 rupees, they also have a flat charge of 99 rupees on that loan, which they charge upfront. And incidentally, that rate of interest then jumps from 20% per annum to 24% per annum. So it is not a easy or cheap method of financing your spending. Now, if there's something that you really needed, and that's you had no choice but to spend from somewhere, and therefore you had this card and you didn't have the money today. To that extent, yes, maybe it will help. But the worry is that the habit will get created of spending what you've not yet earned, and that's a little dangerous.
Right. So in a way, you end up getting into a trap, so to say, because you are egged on to go ahead with spending. You are told that this Millennia card is there to take care of everything. But then, in a way, one really has to read between the lines and understand what going forward in the long run. If you end up spending more than 10,000 rupees, it's okay that it gets converted into EMI, but what one lands into. That's very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of as you said that this could result in sort of bad habits for the individuals. Actually, if I take a sort of different stance and look at the economy, then anything that will help push consumption will really kickstart this economy, and to that extent, maybe the millennials will help the rest of us investors make good money on the stock markets if they spend more.
Right. So that's an interesting take and an interesting way of looking at this entire offering, so to say, for millennials. And one last question before, sir, I let you go. That is, the Millennia prepaid card also offers a personal accident cover of 1 lakh rupees. Now, however, it also comes with a loophole that it can be availed only if the card is used for shopping at least once in the last 30 days, excluding ATM withdrawals.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of insurance and the awareness about insurance is something which is not yet there in India to the extent that it should be. It's certainly improved in the last decade. But I think insurance is something that everyone must look at very, very closely. How to protect risk. Probably that's the first thing you should do even before you decide to start investing. So protecting of risk is important. So to that extent, if people by using this prepaid card get become more aware about these different types of insurance and they have one, that's a good point. As you mentioned, the loophole is that, if I've not used the card in the last 30 days and that insurance goes away. So they are obviously finding different ways and hooks by which they ensure that you keep using that card and keep spending on that card. And if you don't have the money and you're going on spending, then that could be a worry. And I don't think you may need accident insurance. You may need some insurance to, bail you out when you don't have the money to pay the the dues on the
Right.
card. So that's something that you should be careful of.
Right. So one needs to read between the lines before signing up for cards like these. And as is the classic case, that you end up in a catch-22 situation for sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Navlakhi, for speaking with India Ahead all the way from United States.